Welcome to AI Podcasts. Today we're digging into a NeurIPS paper called AGI Elo, and the big question it asks is pretty direct. How far are today's AI systems from actually mastering a task?
Catchy title. Give me the one-sentence takeaway first. What's the punchline?
Think chess ratings, but for AI models playing against individual test cases. AGI Elo rates both the agent and the example, then tells you how much rating a model still needs before it can reliably solve every case in a benchmark.
So instead of models battling each other, the opponent is the test question or the image or the driving scenario?
Exactly. Each test item is like a player on the other side of the board. Easy items are low-rated, gnarly items are high-rated, and models gain or lose points when they solve or miss those items.
Why do we need that when we already have accuracy or pass rates?
Because averages hide the long tail. A model can boast a great overall score and still reliably trip on a small set of stubborn cases. AGI Elo makes those tail cases visible and quantifies the gap to true mastery.
All right, who's behind this?
Lead author Shuo with collaborators from the National University of Singapore, MIT, and the Singapore-MIT Alliance. Thomas Malone is one of the senior authors. It's a solid NUS-MIT team.
Okay, walk me through the actual idea. How do you rate a model and a test item at the same time?
They borrow from Elo and Glico. Both the model and the test case get a rating with uncertainty. Each evaluation is treated like a match. If a model misses an easy item, big penalty. If it misses a hard item, smaller penalty. Over many matches, you get a stable map of model ability and item difficulty.
And how does this work across very different tasks? Say image classification versus code generation.
Good question. They map each benchmark's native metric, accuracy, MAP, pass rate, into a normalized match score. That puts everything on a common scale. Then if you want to talk in the original metric again, you map the prediction back. It's like converting currencies to compare value and then converting back to spend it.
Nice analogy. What did they actually test?
6 staples across 3 domains. Vision had ImageNet and Coco. Language had MMLU and LiveCode Bench for coding. Action had Waymo motion prediction and NavSim motion planning. And they even included a human expert for the planning task.
I like the human baseline. So what did the ratings reveal?
3 big things. First, long-tail difficulty is very real. Some data sets have a small cluster of cases that remain tough no matter how good the model is. Second, AGI Elo gives you a concrete competency gap in rating points. Think of it as saying, to be confident on every case, you still need to climb a few hundred points for mid-level mastery and roughly around 1,000 to be near perfect. Third, on that driving style planning task, a human expert sits very close to the oracle level, while models still have ground to cover.
So the tail is where models struggle, and the human is still better in certain embodied or planning settings. Makes sense. How confident are these ratings, though? Do they line up with the usual metrics?
They check that. Ratings correlate strongly with the traditional scores, and importantly, the ratings let you predict performance on new cases given their difficulty level. So you get alignment with current practice plus a forward-looking lens.
I'm picturing this like a climbing gym. Each route has a grade, that's the test case rating, and each climber has a skill rating, that's the model. If your skill is above the route grade by a comfortable margin, you top it. If not, you fall off at the crux.
Perfect. And the how far from mastery question becomes, how many grades do you still need to gain to climb the hardest route in the gym, not just most of them?
I'm curious about the practical side. If I'm a model builder, how do I use this day to day?
2 ways. First, auditing. You can sort your data set by difficulty and see which pockets you consistently fail. That guides data collection and fine-tuning. Second, forecasting. If your rating is improving over time, you can estimate when you'll clear certain mastery thresholds, like being confident on all cases at, say, a mid or high confidence level.
And that also helps you prioritize. Instead of chasing another point of average accuracy, you focus on shrinking the tail.
Right. Tail-first development. It's a cleaner story for safety-critical domains, too. Knowing your expected behavior on worst-case items beats boasting about your average.
Let's talk about assumptions. Any places where we should be cautious?
A few. The system assumes a kind of transitivity. If you're stronger than me and I'm stronger than another agent, the ordering should hold through the matches with items. They provide evidence it works, but it's an assumption worth stress testing, especially for adversarial or weirdly structured datasets.
And that metric mapping you mentioned earlier. If I change how I translate accuracy into a match score, could that shift the ratings?
Potentially, yes. They argue their mapping choices are reasonable, but sensitivity analysis will matter. The absolute numbers could shift if you pick very different mappings, even if the relative story stays similar.
Data represents reality only if the dataset is a faithful miniature. If the hardest cases aren't really representative of the real world, your notion of mastery might be off.
Exactly. Mastery is defined relative to the hardest case in the dataset. If the dataset misses critical long-tail phenomena, your oracle target may be too easy. Conversely, if the dataset has rare artifacts, you might overestimate how far you are.
What about reproducibility? Any wrinkles there?
They released code and results, which is great, but some language models are API-based and change over time. Pinning versions and prompts is crucial, otherwise reruns can drift. Also, they evaluate a reasonable set of models, but the frontier moves fast, so keeping a living leaderboard would help.
I want to go back to that human baseline for a second. Why is it interesting that the human is near Oracle in motion planning?
It reminds us that interactive closed-loop tasks with real-world dynamics still expose gaps for current models. On static exams, models can look impressive. Put them in a feedback loop with consequences, and you see where planning, common sense, and risk management still matter.
Does AGI Elo help compare humans and machines fairly?
It offers a common scale. You rate a human expert as an agent just like a model. That doesn't solve every comparability issue, but it's a step towards saying, here is where human skill sits on the same difficulty map.
If you had to explain AGI Elo to a product manager in, say, 90 seconds, how would you do it?
I'd say we've been grading students only by class average. AGI Elo is more like a standardized exam system where every question has a difficulty rating and every student has an ability rating. It tells you not just who scored higher, but which questions they'll probably miss tomorrow, how hard those questions are, and how much the student needs to improve to ace the whole test.
That's clear. And it makes trade-offs visible. Maybe your model is amazing on common, easy cases, but still not trustworthy on rare, critical ones.
Exactly, and with the rating view, you can target those rare cases systematically instead of guessing.
Any closing thoughts on the research team's contribution?
They reframed evaluation around the right question, not what's your average, but what's left until mastery. They showed it works across vision, language, and action, and they opened the door to predicting performance at the case level, not just summarizing it.
And the caveats are manageable. Check the mapping, stress test the transitivity assumption, broaden human baselines, and keep datasets honest about the tail.
Nicely put.
So, quick takeaway for listeners. AGI Elo gives you a shared rating scale for both models and test cases, shines a light on the long tail, and turns progress into a concrete distance to mastery. It's a more honest picture of where we stand.
And a practical one. If you're shipping AI systems, use it to find your blind spots, plan your data work, and track whether you're closing the gap where it actually matters.
That's all for today on AI Podcast. Thanks for listening.
See you next time.